Yo, what's going on, family? Thank you for tuning into another live stream podcast event for Daily Fitness. What's going on, Fit Fam? How y'all doing? Today we got another video. This one's on semen retention as well. This one's gonna have a good understanding as to go into the depths of the creative power and the deep understanding on how it works and the effects that it has on your entire life. Which I think this is gonna go into a detail that you've never probably ever heard or seen before. It's gonna be really interesting, and it's going to have a good way of giving you insights on this particular topic. I don't want to waste too much time with the introduction. Let's just get right into it. Alrighty. So thank y'all for being here, and let's get to it. Let's see here.
This video summarizes the book Continence and Its Creative Power, authored by Swami Jagadiswarananda in 1943. Modern education, science, or the media will not tell you the importance of your semen, how the retention of it is intrinsically linked to unlocking one's higher self, and conversely, how the loss of our semen shortens our lives and creates unnecessary suffering for humanity. So in this video, we will explore the intricate process of semen absorption, explaining how this vital substance is meticulously generated from the nutrients we consume and subsequently absorbed into our bloodstream when it is not released. We invite you to join us in this video and see for yourself the opinions of eminent geniuses, revered gurus, and esteemed experts throughout history who fervently advocate the merits of retaining one's semen for greater purposes, and how it played in their pursuit of exceptional achievements, while emphasizing the grave repercussions of chasing pleasure and sense satisfaction.
Very used, very used. Man, that was a hell of an introduction. So it speaks on how it shortens your life, shortens your lifespan. That is a big, bold statement to make. So we're going to sit down and get to the meat and potatoes of everything and see what we're going to learn today and get an understanding of, and to see how this plays on a huge effect of why the world is the way it is right now, with the high state of hedonism that's going on, and how you can apply this to your fitness world as well, and to help you with your mindset and to become a better individual and rise above everything that's going on in ways that you've never been taught before in your life. Opinions of geniuses on semen retention. Number 1, chapter 1. Let's get it.
In the realm of great mystics and the preeminent idealists, those titans among the architects of the human spirit, as eloquently observed by Romain Rolland, a lifelong pacifist and a well-known writer, there exists a profound awareness, an instinctive recognition of the formidable might borne by the concentrated soul, the reservoir of creative energies which we accumulate on semen retention, that emerges through the renunciation of the corporeal and psychic expenditures associated with the realm of sexuality. Even among those who tread the path of unorthodoxy in matters of faith, even the sensualists such as Beethoven, Balzac, and Flaubert, there lies an attunement to this ethereal truth. Beethoven, on a day when he had vehemently spurned the siren call of carnal passions, fervently implored, "Let me preserve it for loftier ends, for God and the exalted art of creation." Prafulla Chandra Ray, a well-known chemist and educationist, when queried about his choice to marry, he replied with a gentle smile, "I have already wedded, my union solemnized with the noble science of chemistry." Zubas Bose, the illustrious patriot, when urged to contemplate marriage, candidly confessed that the pursuit of his nation's liberation consumed his entire being, leaving no room for such reflections.
And notice one thing, these are all men of prominent stature over their time. Whether they chose to use the power for good or evil is a different debate we could have on a different day. However, what they chose to use semen retentions for were for a huge gain. There was something really big in store for it. There was something that they saw that was so prominent, so powerful, that the vision that they had was not a small vision. It was a huge vision. You know, we all know about Beethoven. We all understand this man right here, he's talking about a nation. These are big, big, big gains or big visions that these men had, sacrificing or practicing retaining the vital force that we just frivolously give off in today's world. And of course, you all know the understanding of if you do what 95% of the people do, you're going in the wrong direction. So this right here is going to give you a big insight and understanding. Let's keep going.
Plato extolled the temperance of the Greek athletes, while Mahatma Gandhi, a statue of semen retention, in self-control versus self-indulgence, attributes his mental fortitude and physical vitality to celibacy. With the humility that marked his saintly character, Gandhi divulged, "Even after 2 decades of sensual indulgence, I have reached this state. I contemplate how much more profound my vigor and enthusiasm could have been had I maintained unbroken brahmacharya throughout. I'm fully convinced that the undeviating path of brahmacharya could bestow manifold energy, physical, mental, and moral. If an imperfect brahmachari like myself has reaped such benefits, consider the miraculous empowerment of those who have unwaveringly adhered to it." Buddha, in his teachings to lay disciples, emphasized the practice of continence as the key to alleviating suffering. Lamberkus, a Syrian Neoplatonic philosopher of Arab origin, professed that the gods do not heed the supplications of impurity born of sexual liaisons. Within the principles of Islam, strict celibacy is mandated during the pilgrimage to Mecca, and the Hebrew congregation upholds continence during the theophany at Sinai and before entry into the temple. In Christianity, continence served as a preparatory rite for both baptism and the Eucharist. Christian scholars and devotees alike extolled the virtues of celibacy. The Roman Catholic Church appoints celibate bishops, often selecting them from the monastic orders. Indeed, none have rendered greater service to their countries and to humanity than the continent saints and scholars, with luminaries such as St. Paul, Immanuel Kant, and Sir Isaac Newton standing as exemplars of this ethos. Echoing through the chronicles of time, Jesus Christ himself proclaimed, "And there are eunuchs who have made themselves eunuchs for the kingdom of heaven's sake." Matthew 19:12.
Let's take a quick vocabulary lesson really fast, real quick. Let's see what eunuchs means for those who may not know. Let's go ahead and look it up. Eunuchs in the Bible. Eunuchs were men who were castrated in order to be trusted in overseeing the king's domestic interests, especially in protecting king's harems. Yikes. A castrated man placed in charge of a harem or employed as a chamberlain in a palace. A man or boy deprived of the testes or external genitalias. Whew, intense. Very intense. All right, let's continue.
Yeah,
Ah. All right, let's get this out of here. Move that out the way. We're going to let that go ahead and go through. All right, but so far right now what we have is we have understanding of the power that this semen retention withholds, and they're placing the understanding and using powerful people over history of time that we're aware of, that we know of, and that we understand, and how the role that they have used it for has shifted a lot of prominent spots in history, and have been there, and they've retained their prominence. And how they did this, they all have seemed to been a student or practice of semen retention. You know, because me personally, I don't believe in coincidences. And if you can use all these different philosophers, even people from history and even from religious texts, all practicing the same thing and having such a profound impact on what's been going on in history, then there's no doubt about it that this practice still holds weight. And right now, we live in the complete opposite of this practice. A mindset shift has to happen, but everybody's not looking for a mindset shift. Everybody's looking for an external solution. You're the solution. And it seems like that's what this is trying to teach you. But let's keep going and continue on to see where we're at. So the process of semen absorption. Let's go. Whoops.
In Ayurvedic texts, it is described that out of food chyle is manufactured. From chyle comes blood, from blood comes flesh, from flesh comes fat, from fat comes bones, from bones comes marrow, and lastly, from marrow comes semen. So semen is the finest of the 7 elements of the human system. It is the essence of essences. The food we eat, the Ayurvedic physicians hold, takes 5 days to be digested and turned into chyle. Chyle takes 5 days to be converted into blood. Blood takes 5 days to become flesh. Flesh takes 5 days to become fat. Fat takes 5 days to become bone. Bone takes 5 days to become marrow, and marrow takes 5 days to become semen. The food therefore eaten by us is generally drawn into semen in the course of 35 days after digestion. The Ayurveda also mentions that semen is calm, white, cool, giver of strength, builder of body, seed of procreation, essence of the body, and the chief stay of life. As the ghee is pervasive in milk and molasses in sugarcane juice, so the semen pervades the body of the human beings. The 2 testes that are located in the scrotal bag are called secretory glands. The cells of the testes are endowed with the peculiar property of secreting semen from the blood, just as bees collect honey in the honeycomb drop by drop. So also the cells of the testes gather semen drop by drop from the blood. When the semen is stored in the scrotal bags and not ejaculated, it is percolated through the small pores of the bag and mixes with the blood. At that time it looks like white cells of the blood. They are so subtle that they cannot be seen separate in the blood, even by means of the microscope, like the white corpuscles of the blood which have the power of preventing disease, recouping wounds, cuts, bruises, and creating new flesh. This is why the longer one practices semen retention, one can retain more of this substance in the blood, and the more is one away from disease. That is why a semen retention practitioner does not fall a victim to disease, and even if he falls ill, he recovers sooner than incontinent persons. Semen, after being mixed with blood, again comes back to the testicles, and with other new materials, turns into stronger and dearer semen. In course of time, it goes to the blood again, when the blood is more vitalized. Again it comes to the testicles, and is converted into still stronger and purer semen. If the semen is not lost, it becomes gradually stronger, and strengthens the mind and body. When semen is seen through a microscope, it is found surrounded by an infinite number of protoplasmic cells like tiny tadpoles, which are nothing but albumin. This albumin strengthens the nervous system, and when it is lost, our nervous system becomes weak. What is called excitement is nothing but the agitation of the nervous system. So we should not think such thoughts or...
What? So semen retention within itself provides you strength and resistance to diseases, and if you do get a disease, you recover faster. And you have albumin. Albumin strengthens the nervous system. And if you get excited, it's just the irritation of the nervous system. So at all times, with how the world is being pushed, as far as sex, porn, even fear, I would say, is irritating the albumin, or you're weakening yourself because you're releasing semen, which is making you have no albumin, and is making you more what's the word I'm trying to say? More of a victim to diseases. You're more prone to get diseases because everybody's releasing semen, releasing sperm, everybody's trying to have sex. But you can strengthen yourself from restraining yourself by retaining your semen, and then the albumin within yourself strengthens your nervous system, and then you restraining yourself from also becoming excited from seeing such things or dealing with anything that irritates the albumin in the nervous system. So you can strengthen yourself from restraining yourself. That is amazing. So the strength is coming from within you. Let's continue.
Do such deeds as may in any way excite our nervous system.
Spiritual force of Ojas.
The Bhagavad Gita, an ancient Hindu scripture, describes the retention of semen creates the 8 dhatu called ojas in our body. Ojas is what is called by the Westerners as human magnetism. Ojas is the spiritual force and true builder of personality. Ojas pervades the whole body, but lies mainly in the heart. Cheerfulness, development, and strength of the body depend on the growth of ojas. Its absence leads to death. It is the main prop of life. Enthusiasm, merit, patience, grace, and beauty, and other attributes pertaining to the body, are born of this substance called ojas. Ojas pervades the whole body and is soothing, cool, steady white, and is very conducive to the strength and development of the body. From this, it is perfectly clear that semen is the most precious substance in the human system. That is why it is said in the Shiva Samhita, in other words, retention of semen is life, its loss is death. We should therefore endeavor our level best to conserve every drop of this precious substance. Rightly, it has been said by the wise that chastity is life and continence is heaven, but sexuality is death and lust leads to hell. One student of Dhanvantari, the father of Ayurveda, approached him after completing his full course of Ayurveda.
Chastity is life. Lust is certainly death and hell. If that ain't more true than what we live in today.
The father of Ayurveda approached him after completing his full course of Ayurveda under him and said, "Bhagavan, teach me the secret of health." Dhanvantari replied, "Shukra, or semen, is verily Atman, the soul. The secret of health lies in preserving this vital fluid. He who wastes this energy will have no development, physical, moral, and mental." Lord Shiva says, "A man of unbroken continence is not a man, but a god." What is there in this world that cannot be achieved when one preserves this jowl of semen, by whose power we have so much glory in the whole universe? Sri Ramakrishna describes these following 8.
Let's go ahead and just look at that thing. Look at this one more time. Here we go. A man of unbroken continence is not a man, but a god. What is there in this world that cannot be achieved when one who preserves his jewel of semen, by whose power I have so much glory in the whole universe? Now remember, we did another video previously, I think it was the last video, last 2 videos, which spoke about how to, it was about semen retention, only supposed to be used for procreation, only. And how following the woman's menstrual cycle, or using it according to her menstrual cycle, is the only way you're supposed to use it, if it needed to be used. So they were saying that sex once a month is how it's supposed to be done, but even then, this is telling you to take it a step further. Let's continue. This is amazing.
In the whole universe. Sri Ramakrishna describes these following 8 kinds of sexuality that can be considered as types of relapses on semen retention or continence.
8 actions
Thinking,
to avoid.
hearing and talking about sex, playing with, looking at, and conversing with the opposite sex in secret, attempting at, and finally the performance of, the sexual act. These are the 8 kinds of sexuality, according to the wise. Continence, which is not doing any of these, should be practiced by those who want self-mastery. To harbor impure thoughts in the mind is a kind of incontinence. Christ rightly says, "Whosoever looketh on a woman to lust after her hath already committed adultery with her in his heart." Matthew 5:28.
One simple but brilliant.
All right. So we got this here coming here to bother us. 8 ways to avoid the action. I didn't get all 8, but it was think, talk, and hear anything about sex. Think, talk, and hear. Performance. Attempting to. And I can't remember what the other 3 were. But this is putting you at like a complete, I would say, virtuous high ground, because it even said that the effects of this has a physical, mental, and moral effect on you, which is just mind, body, and soul. So just the power in this is astounding. And if you've ever had we've all had the urges to want to fornicate with the other gender or what have you, and that in itself could be chalked up to the same effect that you would have if you're addicted to something. Like, whatever drug that you're addicted to, it's like a withdrawal effect. And this is teaching you how to master your withdrawal, to come over your addictions. That's why I always say, get rid of your vices. Very interesting video right here. Let's keep going.
William Loftus Hare, a master entheosophist, in his writing at the Open Court in Chicago, in March 1926 on generation and regeneration, gave convincing arguments regarding the biological necessity of semen retention. He pointed out that the undifferentiated germ cells of the body are performing 2 functions simultaneously, namely, the internal reproduction or regeneration for the building up of the body, and external reproduction or generation for the continuation of the species. He proves with biological facts and figures that the regenerative process is fundamental.
So the release of semen is for the next generation, is external. And the retaining of semen is for the regeneration, the internal process. Man.
For the individual, and therefore necessary and primary, whereas the generative process is due to the superfluity of cells and is therefore secondary. Both are closely dependent on nourishment, and if this be low, there is deficiency of both the processes. William Loftus Hare then adds that law of life at this level is to feed the germ cells firstly for regeneration and secondly for generation. In case of deficiency, which is a very common feature in modern men and women, regeneration must take the first place and generation be suspended. Thus we may learn the origin of the suspension of reproduction and follow it to its later phases of human continence and asceticism generally. Every moment of growth, from conception onwards, exhibits this increasing power of regeneration. If regeneration ceases or is imperfectly performed, disease or death will supervene. The nemesis of reproduction is death, and the sexual act, or the release of semen, is essentially catabolic in the male, and in the parturition of the offspring, it is catabolic for the female. Hence the insightful writer contends that virility and vitality and immunity from disease are the normal lot of nearly or quite continent persons. And a proof of this, if a rather unpleasant one, is derived from the fact that a very large number of diseases in men have been and are cured by the artificial injection of semen of debilitated persons. Patrick Geddes, a biologist and a sociologist, writes in his The Evolution of Sex that the association of reproduction and death is indeed patent enough, but connection in popular language is usually misstated. The true statement, as far as history furnishes an answer, is not that animals reproduce because they have to die, but that they die because they have to reproduce. In support of this view, Goethe, the great German thinker, says that it is not death that makes reproduction necessary, but reproduction has death as its inevitable consequence. When physical creation is stopped, the way to intellectual creation is open, and when intellectual creation is suspended, spiritual creation or religious experience is possible. Zoologists tell us continence is observed by lower animals, as for instance cattle, to a greater extent than by human beings, and this is a fact. The reason is that the cattle have perfect control over the palate, not by will, but by instinct. They subsist on mere fodder, and of this too, they take a quantity just sufficient for nutrition. Isaac J. Byberg, a Latin writer, says that the organs of generation in the animal kingdom are for the most part concealed by nature, as if they were to be ashamed of them. Khan Sahib Abdul Ghaffar, Khan of the frontier province, once remarked to Mahatma Gandhi that observance of continence was really natural to the tribesmen, who were natural semen retention practitioners outside marriage. The secret of their
Observance of continuance was really natural to the tribesmen who were so habituated to continence outside marriage. The secret of their well-known hardiness and strength lies as much in their chaste lives as in their open-air life and invigorating climate. They marry both men and women after full maturity.
Their well-known hardiness and strength lies as much in their chaste lives as in their open-air life and invigorating climate. They marry, both men and women, after full maturity. Unfaithfulness, adultery, or unmarried love are practically unknown among them. To them, union outside wedlock is punishable by death. The injured party has the right to take the life of the wrongdoer.
Wow. The psychology, the physiology and psychology of semen retention. So, the secret hidden strength also in ancient men or men of previous generations also lies in the chaste, the chastity. Practicing of not releasing semen a lot, as well as the climate and the vigorous labor that was done, or just the way they had to live their life. There's a lot of power in this. Let's keep going. Hopefully this gets out to somebody somewhere, because this right here is a very, very, very powerful statement.
According to medical science, healthy sexual glands ensure physical vigor and long life. When these glands function properly, they give out an internal secretion which stimulates and strengthens the organic tissues, especially the brain cells and spinal cord. The practice of semen retention practically demonstrates that continence can keep these glands most healthy and active. Margaret Sanger, the pioneer of birth control movement in America, and Dr. McSutton, an American physician, after discussing with Sri Yogendra, the author of Yoga as Personal Hygiene, Bombay, frankly admitted that, if practicable, the yogic method of active continence is the most ideal solution of all the important questions of birth control. Mahatma Gandhi rightly says, sexual act for the purpose of carnal satisfaction is reversion to animality, and it should be therefore man's endeavor to rise above it. Man is superior to the brute inasmuch as he is capable of self-restraint, of which the brute is incapable. Self-indulgence cannot be the law of life, as some advocates of contraceptives hold, except to the idiots and imbeciles. Passions are never extinguished by satiation or satisfaction. If you make sense pleasure the ideal of your life, a time will come when nothing will any more please you. It is described in Adi Parva, the first book of the Mahabharata, chapter 73. Lust is never gratified by enjoyment. Enjoyment increases the passion as ghee poured upon fire increases the latter by leaps and bounds. All the corns, gold, animals, and women that are on earth cannot gratify even one mind. Give up, therefore, desires which are quenched not by enjoyment, but by elimination. Mahatma Gandhi asserts that birth control by contraceptives is race suicide.
Golly, birth control by contraceptive is race suicide. I mean, this is profoundly speaking on how we are looking at the world today. I mean, like, oh man, this is crazy.
Resort to artificial methods is like putting a premium upon vice. They make men and women reckless. Self-control is the surest and only method of regulating the birth rate because it promotes the well-being of individuals as well as of society.
Okay, so self control is the surest and only method of regulating the birth rate because it promotes the well being of individuals as well as of society. So, okay, I want to take that statement in real quick. Self control is the surest and only method of regulating the birth rate. The birth rate is supposed to be regulated through self control. If there is no self control, the birth rate is not regulated. Then, in turn, what happens? What happens when the birth rate is not regulated via self control? I hate to say this, but I think we're seeing it today. Let's continue.
Experimental evidence of modern science which goes against absolute continence is correct only when celibacy is enforced on brutish people. Such people cannot eliminate sexual impulse, and so it poisons their system, deteriorates their sexual glands, and brings on premature senility. It is also true that married life led with moderation and restraint prolongs life and guarantees health. Continence or semen retention increases infinitely the power of retentiveness and remembrance. Try to gain absolute mastery over thy sexual instinct. If one succeeds in doing this, a physiological change is produced in the body by the development of a nerve known by the name meta. Its function is to transmute lower energies into the higher. The knowledge of the higher self is gained after the formation of this meta nerve.
Wait a minute. Facebook is called Meta. Facebook right now is called Meta, Meta. But Meta, whatever. I mean, the pronunciation is still the same. Like live in live. Continence and semen retention increases infinitely the power of retentiveness and remembrance. Try to gain absolute mastery over thy sexual instinct. If one succeeds in doing this, a physiological change is produced in the body by the development of a nerve known by the name meta. Okay? And the function is to transmute lower energies into the higher energies. The knowledge of the higher self is gained after the formation of this meta nerve. So it's, man, wow. So right now, if you were a slave to your lower instincts, or just a slave to the life in general and have no self-control, you can fall victim. Oh, man. Wow, that is profound. Its function is to transmute lower energies into higher energies. That's the function of the meta. And if you succeed in doing this, this physiological change is produced in the body and it's known by meta. Let's keep going. I mean, take that as what you want to take it for, but just me thinking how coincidentally, and again, I don't believe in coincidences, but Facebook is called Meta, and this is Meta. And the function of Meta is to transmute lower energies into higher energies. Now, you can take it as the law of polarity. You can take that as the one or two ways. You can look at that from an internal process, or you can look at that as it being experimented on externally. Just think of it like that.
Sri Ramakrishna, a spiritual leader. When continence is established, infinite energy is gained. Patanjali, a Hindu author, mystic, and philosopher. When attainment of continence is the secret of all occult powers unchecked, and makes one capable of transmuting powers to others.
Attainment of continence is the secret of all occult powers unchecked and makes one capable of transmuting powers to others. So when we get into occult knowledge and things like that, attainment of continence is the secret of all occult powers. So a lot of people like to say that, occult knowledge and the occult are doing things evil and satanic. Now, like I said earlier, take the law of polarity. You take this power and you can use it for good or you can use it for bad. But it doesn't change the fact that you can practice continence. You can attain continence even as a person with an ill will towards others. I'm not saying there's not a consequence that comes with that, but what I'm saying is the attainment of continence can be attained from a person who has a good intentions for the greater good or selfish intentions for the greater good. Some people may want to help everyone while others just want to help their family. Some people might want to help everyone while somebody just wants to obtain all this power for themselves. It doesn't change the fact that this can be attained by either or. Let's continue.
Vyasadeva, a revered sage. Those who believe that happiness is in the body and misery in whatever hinders sexual pleasure. How they become satiated with it and die of it. Blaise Pascal, a great French philosopher. To be strong, be pure. Jules Michelet, a French historian and writer. No one but imbeciles mocks at chastity. Justin Godard, a French lawyer and
I love
politician.
that. No one but imbeciles.
The future is for the
chastity.
nations who are chaste. Thomas Mann, a German novelist.
The future is for the nations who are chaste. That right there should say everything that you need to know. The future is for the nations who are chaste. That should explain exactly why hedonism, a hypersexuality that is going on in today's world and society. Because the future is for those who can overcome that and for the nations who are chaste. That is exactly what's going on. This right here should tell you everything you need to know. If you watch this video from the beginning and made it to this point, this should give you the answer that you need right now. This says it all. Golly. I don't even care who the man is. No disrespect to him. That should tell you everything. And this is not even just from his words. You can take this from any religious text. I don't care anything. This tells you everything you need to know. And then this video goes on to describe the 8 ways to avoid. Man, let's continue. Almost finished.
And philanthropist. Spotless chastity is the best of penances. A celibate who is endowed with spotless chastity is not a human being indeed, but a god. To the celibate who conserves the semen with great efforts, what is there unattainable in this world? Sankaracharya, a space scientist and philosopher. Lust ruins life, luster, strength, vitality, memory, wealth, fame, holiness and devotion to truth. Sri Krishna or Lord Shiva. Debility of intellect, especially of the memory, characterizes the mental alienation of the licentious or the sensualists. Dr. Louis, a specialist of neurology.
Shout out to Teaching of the Wise, fair use, for this gem that they gave us on this particular topic right here. Thank y'all so much for that one. That was amazing. I don't know how you feel about it or what you think about it, but that should tell you something. That should give you all the answers that you need. Because I'm always a proponent of get rid of your vices, drop your vices. Have no vices. That is the main thing on my coaching program. Get rid of your vices. Take full accountability for everything that you do. No vices. And that vices comes across the board. Drinking, smoking, lusting, all these things. And once you can get rid and have self-control over all of your vices, every day it's a battle to conquer these vices. They don't go away. They don't stop. They persist at you. They're urges, they're impulses. They're not just actions, they're thoughts. As we just seen here earlier. Thinking, talking, hearing about these things can hinder you. So in other words, you need to be in alignment 100% all the way, thin and through. That's why it's important to be productive and to keep yourself busy and focused on a goal and task, to not allow your mind to alter. To stay focused and surround yourself with individuals. And if you can't surround yourself with individuals, it's going to be a point where that's kind of hard to do at some point in your journey. Use the power of providing value to people as a way to keep your mind in alignment. Create valuable content at all times. Pick up your phone, create content valuable to people at all times. Stay connected with people at all times that will help you keep your mind and thoughts in alignment. That's all I got for you today. Go out there, conquer your day. And until next time, thank you for tuning in. And as always, let's get it.